Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we actually started here. We were having a conversation right before we went live, and we were talking about the Flames. And I do want to continue that conversation. However, I do think it would be burying the lead to not mention it right off the top, unless you've been living under a rock and also the rock is not near civilization. Alexander Ovechkin officially passed Wayne Gretzky for the all-time goals record at 895 in the NHL in the regular season. God
Yeah,
damn.
he did it.
What a
We we
beast,
were
man.
we were talking last episode. We said there's a very good chance come next week we'd be talking about it, how we broke the record, and sure enough, he does. He goes out there and pots 2 goals against Chicago, and then
I was convinced he was getting the hat trick. I thought it was
I
that game.
really did. I really thought the way he was playing, the way it was going, it was like he's just gonna get a hat trick and that'll be it. Unfortunately, doesn't get it. Ryan Leonard actually recording his first career goal in that game. And then Ovi goes out there on Sunday in a typical Ovi fashion. He rips one home on the power play. Not a one timer though. Not a one timer, but still in the
No,
power play.
everyone said
And
vintage Ovi. I was like, holy crap. That's one of the, like, I know it's insane to say about it, but like, that's one of the best shots I've seen from him, man. He like pulls it back. The puck is like actually 2 feet behind him, and he freaking loads it up like a rifle and fires it. Like, that was a wild shot.
it was a great shot. It was perfectly placed, and um, before you know it, the entire Caps bench is off the. They're all off the bench and they're all celebrating. And what an incredible moment to witness that. Yeah, Ovi's
Yeah,
the all-time goals leader finally.
just yeah, it was so cool, and they handled it well. I love that they literally rolled out the red carpet and everything, and they had all these guys come out like however much time left in the second, like 11 minutes something second and change in the second, and they're just nope, we're doing this. Like, dude,
Yeah.
absolutely. We saw it when who was it? Was it LeBron broke the all-time scoring record in the NBA? They did it back in the NHL when Gretzky passed Howe. Like, for these monumental moments in the sport, and like, you know, full credit to him for it, but we're not doing this for Crosby hitting 20, the most consecutive point per game seasons. That's an awesome record, but like, we're talking about the counting stat that everyone looks at, goals in hockey, and we just saw the all-time record get beaten. Like, if you can't stop a regular season game for a little bit to do a celebration for this, then you can't do it.
You can't, yeah.
And
Then
and
it'll never happen.
yeah, which is probably the argument of some of the people who didn't like it, but like, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, just have fun with it. Come on. Like, nobody is upset about this unless they are Islanders fans and didn't want to hear it because they were the other team, which is kind of fair. I get
They
the
were
I get
they were
the I get
fine
the
with it.
point.
They witnessed history, and the Islanders were
99% of them were. Everyone in the
winning the
arena
game
was.
anyways. Like, yeah,
Yeah, ended
they
up
they
winning
were
4-1, I
totally
believe.
fine. Yeah.
And the only other people who dislike it are people who don't like Ovi. Like, or the old heads who don't want Gretzky's records to be broken. Like,
Yeah.
anybody who doesn't like this has like these ulterior motives. Nobody just genuinely like imagine being a neutral fan watching this, not having an opinion, and then just I wanted to watch the hockey game that's on right now. Yeah, you didn't just show up to see Capitals Islanders. You
Yeah.
wanted to see this moment, and it's freaking sick. Like, also, I saw a lot of people saying I hope they do. He does. I hope Ov for the goal does the stick on fire celly. That I've never been a fan of that celly. I don't think it's that cool. I know a lot of people like it. That dive,
I don't
that's
have
an
anything
all
against it.
timer. That was
The dive is cool,
awesome.
but I will say this, he wasn't even thinking. You could go into a game like that and think of, "Oh, this is how I'm gonna do the celly, this and this." As soon as you score the goal, you just black out and You're just having a good time at that point. I mean, the celly was probably just instinct because that was kind of,
Well,
the
that
big
you
thing
said
he
that's what
did.
he did for the cup run,
Yeah,
right?
celebrating with it, but it,
I got to
maybe it
imagine
was
that's not
planned,
an
but in my
accident.
opinion, I think it was just instinct for him. You rip it home and your immediate things, you just go crazy, just have fun with it. I'm not saying like,
Yeah,
oh, that wasn't a thought, but
that's how you get some of the best sellies.
yeah, when
And
you're
it is
not even
also how you get
thinking, and
some weird ones, to be fair,
oh
When
yeah, no one
when
folks
Gretzky
remembers
when
those
Gretzky
though.
passed Howe for the all-time goals record, he did the weird like arms up like running on ice thing.
See,
And
that's one of the, that one's still iconic though.
oh yeah, it's iconic because of the moment attached to it. Kind of a
No, I think
weird
just in
it's kind
general.
of a weird ass Selly.
No,
it's
I think just in
it's
general.
goofy, man. It's
I love
pretty
it.
goofy.
I love it. That's what it was back then, though. It was those type of sellies, though.
And then Solani comes out of nowhere and hits the clay pigeon. And it's like, oh shit, this guy's cool as fuck.
Who's the
Like
guy who
that's
just did like the jump in the air?
oh, I don't even remember.
That one was. I will admit that one was pretty fucking stupid. I can't remember who did it, but that one is like, damn, you really had nothing else. You had nothing else in your bag of sellies to pull out there.
Yeah,
Um, One thing a lot of people were talking about with this, I thought again, first of all, like I thought the whole ceremony they did was cool, having Gary Bettman come out, have Wayne Gretzky come out, kind of be like the passing of the torch thing.
yeah.
Um
They talked a lot about the owner of the Caps. A weird amount. I get mentioning him. They brought him up 5 or 6 times in a couple of
I'm
speeches and,
I'm
like
I'm fine with it because he didn't want to speak. He was like, "Nope, this is Ovi's moment. If
yeah,
you want to
yeah,
talk
no,
about me,
he
I
played
can't
it
sit
great.
here
He played it
and do
great.
it."
Everyone else was glazing him.
The and you know what? Fair enough. He
Yeah,
look what's going on with the Caps with
yeah.
him. I'm
It was
okay with
funny
that.
because he didn't look like he wanted that. He was
Yeah,
out
no.
there and he clearly enjoyed being out there, but, like, yeah, somebody I think when Ovi got past the mic, he offered to give it to him or somebody else did, and he was like, "No, I'm fine." Like, he was
I think it
just
was
having
Wayne.
a great time in the moment.
Yeah. The one thing I will say that I didn't like about the ceremony, and I don't think it's Gretzky's fault because I think it was something that was kind of forced into him. But then again, if you know you're doing it,
Yeah,
do 5 seconds of homework. Literally not that difficult. And that was the kind of passing of the torch from the wives. They made that big deal about how when Wayne
yeah.
Gretzky passed to Gordy, how his wife Colleen gave whatever I don't know what the gift was, but that a gift to Wayne Gretzky's wife Janet,
Yeah, I think they said
and
it
then
was a bottle of wine or probably not a watch or something. Some
I I
gift.
have I have no yeah I'm not 100% sure, but I didn't like that. Then they make this whole Wayne Gretzky makes like this is a big deal, this is a big thing, but he doesn't even know Ovechkin's wife's name. He couldn't do a 5-second Google search to actually address her by her name. Just Ovechkin's wife. I was like, come on, man. Like, I get the sentiment. It wasn't your idea. It was very clearly your wife that was like, hey, Colleen Howe did this for me. It's right that now I pass it on. And if someone ever breaks Ovi's record, that tradition can continue. It's like
It came
all
off
Wayne had to
weird
do
in
is
so
a
many
fight.
ways.
It was just it felt forced. First of all, what Wayne was saying, because you could tell it didn't seem like it was a big deal to him, but it was a very big deal to his wife. Clearly,
Yeah.
but like if you're gonna do that and you're gonna be the one speaking about it, know the names. It's just
Yeah,
kind of disrespectful to be like,
it
"Oh,
was awkward
present
for a
to
number of
Ovechkin's
reasons.
wife." It's like, yeah, I thought
So
that was
when he
actually
did
worse than Nicholas Backstrom not being out there
yeah. I was gonna say,
because
I have
all
a
you had to do is a
couple
5-second
complaints.
Google search.
On the whole, I think it was good. But yeah,
Yeah,
like you
on the
said,
whole, everything was
I
good all around, I guess, when
I
you're
didn't
taking it
even
all together.
consider that Gretzky didn't know Ovechkin's wife's name. That it's funny that you took that from that because looking back, you're 100% right. But like just the way he said it, he like he said like I'm trying to remember the verbiage he used. He said like, it was from Howe's family to my family, and then he kind of pauses. And then he goes, "Well, actually, it was from How's wife to my wife, and now from my wife to yours. And something about the way he said it just like felt felt very like 1960s, like, oh, this is what the wife's cooking up over here. Like I do the stuff over here and she's off on her own with her little side projects. It felt almost a little demeaning towards both
Yeah,
his wife
I didn't
and
take it.
Ovechkin's wife, who is
I didn't
just
take it that
receiving a
way at
gift.
all. I
I
didn't take
didn't
it
even
that way
think
at all.
about the
I guess it
the
would
name
depend on
thing.
what the gift is, though, right? Because again, I don't
That too.
fully know. Like maybe it was something like maybe it's a kind of a family thing,
Are
but
we
it's
just
like passed
forgetting, or
from
did he not
wife to
mention
wife.
what it is?
I don't think they necessarily said it. I don't think he said what exactly it was. I think it was just a gift. I would
Why?
have to go back and maybe look, but
I mean,
I'm
you
like
can
99% sure they
th-
didn't say what exactly it was.
then why tell the crowd? Like, if you don't know
Well, and that's
what,
what I'm saying is like Gretzky clearly this wasn't his idea,
like, you
but
can
he was
you can still
forced to be
do
the
the
one
whole
to go out
trade,
there
but why are
and
you talking about
say
it
it.
in front of freaking you? What is it? UBS Arena?
Yeah. Well, because I think that was kind of how it happened back then is I'm assuming, that
Okay, here it
the
is.
passing of the gift happened on the ice, so maybe that's just kind of tradition to keep it that way. It was just, and I'm not putting it on like the only thing I'm putting on Gretzky is just if you're gonna make it, know the person's name. Just kind of disrespectful to just be like, oh, Ovechkin's wife. But the rest of it, he was clearly just being forced to be the front man to say it, but he was kind of like, well, this isn't,
Yeah, and
my thing, but
most of the
obviously,
rest of what he said was
yeah,
was the same as that as well. Like, there, I don't know the last time I saw a more forced line than when he was talking about how good the refs have been with Gary Bettman standing beside him. Like that
yeah.
that was not him speaking. And he might believe that, but it he clearly didn't
I
plan
think
on
Gretzky
saying
made a
that on his
comment
own.
afterwards about like on the ice with the mic. I think he made some kind of thing of like how that was like a little forced or something like that. He made some kind of cheeky comment. I can't remember exactly the
Yeah.
words he used, but I'm pretty sure it was like kind of like I didn't come up with that line.
Yeah,
That's
I'm sure
not
that
me
was an
speaking.
organic thought from me. Um Ovechkin's wife, Anastasia, in case Wayne's listening and needs to remember it, uh, got a $280,000 diamond ring from Wayne Gretzky's wife. Oh, so the people on this
Oh,
news site don't even know Gretzky's wife's name. um, but yeah, it
that's a
was
pretty
a
big gift. Wow.
slightly more than
Wow.
quarter million diamond ring. Ovi's got some
Damn.
freaking competition, apparently. Holy.
Yeah, shit. Fuck, I did not think that's what it was gonna be. Wow.
I was going to say, surely it's not just like a $5,000 Rolex or something. I mean, probably not a Rolex, it's wife to wife, but like, if for this big monumental occasion and all that. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And
That's
uh
sick. Wow. I did not think that's what it was gonna be.
yeah, some
I don't
of
know what
the
I thought it was gonna be, but I did not think it was gonna be a ring that expensive.
I've kind of felt it was probably jewelry, just because the first time it happened was back with Gretzky and Howe, and like they're both pretty old fashioned dudes. I gotta imagine Gordy was even more of an old fashioned dude, just age. So like it would make sense. I was kind of expecting a necklace or a ring. I wasn't
I was
expecting a
thinking
two
more of
hundred
like
eighty thousand
like
dollar
a
one.
pendant or a necklace of some sort before I would have went to
I mean,
ring, but
I'd
I
be
mean, shit,
floored if it was
that's cool.
a $70,000 ring. So the
Yeah,
fact that it's like five times that, probably not five
that
times
is
that, three times
pretty
that. It's yeah,
pretty nuts. But I mean, again, congrats to Alex Ovechkin. He's now the all-time goals leader, greatest goal scorer of all time. But like,
yeah,
just
and
incredible what he's been able to do, and the fact that like you look at his goal totals and never like maybe had a little bit of a down year last year, but still a good year. Like overall, like if you're like, oh, for Ovi's standards, maybe a bit of a down year, but overall, damn good year last year. Like his goal totals, like per year, he's been so consistent with it. Like
yeah,
what did he put up last year? 31. Like it's still a 30 goal season.
and he had what, 7 goals going into like the back half of January.
Something like that. Yeah,
Like
got
he
off
was
to a really
so
bad.
washed before the trade deadline, and then Ovi's back. Ovi's
Yeah,
back. That's it. League deal with it. Like what was? Do you remember my preseason prediction for Ovi? I think I ended up saying. I think I walked it back a bit. My original take was going to be Ovi doesn't hit 15 goals this year, and I
I
was
think you
like,
said
that's a little
20 in
harsh,
the
and I
end.
walked it back to 20.
20, yeah.
Either way, whichever one I picked, he still doubled it. He's at 42, and
61 games.
he's
He
going to play
broke
the
his leg.
least amount of games he's played in a season.
Yeah. Broke his leg this year and still put up
Yeah,
42 and counting.
barring
Like could
shortened
put
seasons.
up a couple more. Like
Yeah,
it just what he's been able to do, what he continues to keep doing. Um Also, I mean, congrats to Tom Wilson. He's, a big talking point was, who's going to be the one to get the assist, and it was Tom Wilson who um, slid it over. Dylan Strome got the secondary assist on it.
that's pretty
So
cool.
I thought that was pretty cool. That kind of those two were combined on. Tom Wilson's kind of, you know, other
Yeah,
than John Carlson, I guess, pretty much has kind of been there the longest with Ovi, kind of working up front with him, and Dylan Strome's kind of coming and become the new Nicholas Backstrom alongside
yeah,
um, Ovi with the amount of assists he's put up. So that was actually really kind of cool that the two of them got in on it. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it was just incredible.
That's so sick, and I'm surprised how many things I have to say on this. I really didn't think I had this many thoughts. Um, but yeah, they after the goal, Ovechkin goes over and he actually after the game, I think, and he asked Sorokin for the stick, which of course Sorokin did and gave him the stick. Um, that stick is totally going in Ovi's museum that he said he's going to open. That is going to primarily feature a ton of hockey sticks throughout his career. I hope Ovi, Rolex, car, whatever you want to buy him. I hope he gives Sorokin something for that because that's
Well,
going to be
so
like $100,000 stick in a couple of years.
yeah, so two things on that. It was reported that Sorokin also offered his, I believe it was his glove or his blocker, one of the two, maybe even both, offered that to Ovi as well, which I thought was cool of him to do.
Yeah.
And Ovi was signing a couple pucks for Sorokin. He kind of just like it's kind of like Sorokin was kind of like a magician, right? He just kept pulling out puck after puck out of his pocket, and Ovi was just sitting there signing them.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and then we even saw like it's probably about a month ago, Ovi sent a signed Caps jersey, like an Ovi jersey, obviously, to Andre Pavlik, former goalie who Alex Ovechkin scored his very first career goal against. And he
Oh,
signed
yeah.
it and kind of wrote on it like, "You were my first," or something like that, or "Thanks for being my first," something like that.
Yeah.
So I got to imagine he's probably gonna, and him and Sorokin are buddies, like they
Yeah.
got that Russian connection. So I got to imagine, some memorabilia, definitely a signed jersey with some classic OV line,
Yeah.
signed on it or something. Like he'll definitely be getting something from OV, no doubt.
Yeah.
Don't
Um,
know what it's gonna be, but um, yeah, there
another
definitely will be something though.
Yeah, that's good to hear you signing pucks for him and stuff. Because all I had heard was he asked for the stick, and then it's like somebody asked him in an interview, like, "Did you give him anything back?" And he was like, "No, he didn't ask." And he was being funny, but also, I didn't hear if he gave him anything. And Ovi's gonna make it right if even
I
if
was
he
gonna say
didn't in that
that's
moment,
classic
he's hundred
OV. That
percent going and getting him something afterwards.
yeah, that's
But
a
I was
better,
just
that's
like,
a
that's
more OV
gonna be
line.
that stick is a piece of history. So
Oh yeah,
like, you want to get something back for it instead of just giving it to him out of the goodness of your heart and that's it.
yeah. Well, and that's a classic OV line as opposed to being like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I don't have anything here to give him. It's more OV to just throw that line out there, and
yeah.
I'm sure probably it'll be end of playoffs. Like Ovi's got the cup on his mind, but when the season's all said and done,
He'll go
yeah,
around
I'm,
sending
I'm
stuff
sure
out
he'll
like
like
crazy.
there'll be a care package or something going to Sorokin.
Yeah.
First goal
Uh,
he scored on
First goal
Sorokin as well.
against him. One other thing that everyone's been watching the overall goal total, obviously. One thing that I was very closely watching, I don't know if I've mentioned it, definitely not since the record's been broken. on the podcast, but the games played compared to goals record. I was very happy for Ovi because I was cheering for him specifically in the Chicago game because he needed those 2 goals to hit 894 in one less game
One
than
last, yeah.
Gretzky, is what I thought. But we're not looking at the game logs. We are just going on Hockey DB and looking at the totals. Gretzky went goalless in his last, I believe it was 6 or 7 games of his career. That means Gretzky hit 894 goals, not in his 1487, which is what he played in his career. He actually hit that in 1480 or 1481. So Ovi didn't beat him there. But that's what made this goal against the Islanders so good. Because in the same amount of career games, so Gretzky beat him to 894, but in the same amount of games, Gretzky has one more, or Ovi has one more goal
There's
now.
one more. Oh,
So
you know what? I didn't even think of it that way at all.
I
That's
didn't
actually a
until
really good way
somebody
of
else
breaking
brought
it
it up
down. That's a
because
very
I
good
was
way of
like,
putting it, actually.
I was really hoping he'd get 2 in Chicago when he did. I was so excited because I was like that he beats him on pace. And then I saw a couple people online because a lot of people were talking about that. And it's like, no, if you break it down, Gretzky actually had all those goals a little bit before he retired. So I was glad to see in the same amount of games played, he had one more goal to at least be able to say, okay, fine, you beat me to 894, but in the same amount of games, I had a more goal than you.
Yeah. I actually
So
have a couple cool kind of coincidence type things that kind of made this goal, this moment for we kind of a whole big circle kind of all coming together, which I think was really cool. So um Ovi set the record on April 6th. 19 years earlier to the exact day was the day that the Washington Capitals won the draft lottery in 2004, meaning they knew that they were going to be the team to sign Ovechkin. So I thought that was kind of cool that, like, from the day the Caps find out they're getting Ovi, exactly 19 years later, he sets the all-time goals record. And when we're talking about Ovi, he scored, again, most goals in NHL history. There's a lot to go from. But one of the most iconic ones was his on the back goal. Kind of
yeah,
deacon through, falls to his back, and spins it around and slides it in. The
have we
goalie,
talked about that goal on the podcast much?
I think we mentioned it before.
Okay, we can go
I
back
don't
to
know
it.
exactly when. Um, but the goalie that he scored that goal on was none other than Brian Boucher, who, funny enough, was actually the on ice reporter during this historic game for Alex Ovechkin,
Oh,
which
that's pretty cool.
I thought was
Does he
pretty
often
cool.
do
That
Islanders games, or is that
I think
like is
it's
that
because this
coincidence, or
was
did they
more of
bring him
a.
in?
I think it's because this, the national broadcast, um, he
Right.
was on,
Oh, okay.
and who was when Ovi scored this goal? Who was coaching the Coyotes? Man who passed the torch to Ovi, Wayne Gretzky.
That's pretty good.
Kind of a lot of coincidence, a lot of things that all kind of came together in this moment. So just wanted to highlight that because, again, people love to talk about the sports or script, and if you're part of that crowd, well, here you go. Here's some ammo we're giving you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I love those coincidences like that. That's like the whole what is it? Link I can't remember the second name. There's like Lincoln, I think it's Lincoln and Washington. There's like a million different or no, it's Lincoln and Kennedy. It was like one was killed by one's name is Lincoln, the other guy was killed by a guy named Lincoln. The other guy's name
Oh
is
yeah,
Kennedy. He was killed by Kennedy. They were both driving cars of the other guys. There's like a goofy spreadsheet of information that at this point 90% of it could be lies and I'd believe it just because it looks fun to read. But
yeah. I know exactly. Yeah, I remember seeing that whole uh thing.
yeah, that was going around a couple years ago. People were losing it over that. Like And of course, there's some people that can't see it as a fun fact. There's some conspiracy that dates back 200 years. It's like, okay, buddy, it's not
Yeah.
it's not that deep. But that's off-season talk. And man, that you know what? And maybe we'll do an episode sometime in the off-season after the playoffs about some of the best goals in the history of the sport. But a take that I've stood by for years is that the Ovi on the back goal is at best the second most overrated goal in NHL history.
Ooh.
And I'm not saying it's not good. That's a fucking sick goal. But
What would you say is one?
I think everybody, I think a lot of people agree, the majority, that is the best goal of all time, and I think that's just a disservice to the sport.
It's a fantastic goal. It's a great goal. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the best all time.
Okay, I think
It's definitely
a lot of people
one of the
would.
better ones, but to say it's the best all time,
top
yeah,
1%, pretty
would.
handily. But
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the best. No,
yeah,
definitely not.
the only other one that can compete for most overrated would be Marek Malik between the legs.
Oh, okay.
Which I think the factor of that being it late in a shootout, coming from an absolute schmuck, like I think that one is better just for the way it happened and like the circumstances. But like I would not hate anyone putting Ovi's goal over that. But I know a lot of people dislike that one just because
I don't think
it was played on repeat
like
for a long time.
Yeah, I don't think people say that like the Malik goal is the greatest. I think it's one of the more iconic. I think is a better way to use it. It's not necessarily like, oh, what a fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
going between the legs is like pretty good, but for iconic factor, it's 100% up there.
Yeah.
That's like
Great call too.
fucking. It's like Jan Ruda, just a stay-at-home defensive defenseman going out there in the shootout and busting that shootout. Right? It's just but in terms of like, it's one of the best goals ever. No, iconic, sure. Best, no.
Yeah,
not even top 10%.
Yeah, but you know what? Maybe we'll do an episode in the off season about some of our favorite goals. That could be fun.
Yeah, that'd be a good topic to come back to.
I had one or two more things about Ovi. These are the last two things. They're kind of two in one. These are we've talked about a couple of the things we didn't really like about the ceremony and a lot that we did. The only two things that I thought were missing, Nicholas Backstrom. They should have either given him a video package saying congratulations, or he should have been on the ice, or both. Like, dude, this guy assisted on so many of Ovechkin's goals. He was so pivotal. I genuinely don't know if Ovi breaks this record without him. Like, who steps up into that spot,
Yeah.
And like, Ovi might break it later on. But
I just wonder if Backstrom didn't want to go down there.
Because
like, there's no way they would tell him like you couldn't. Like, if he was like, "Hey, I want to."
I imagine it was more of a they didn't approach him and he was waiting to be approached, or like, if he wasn't approached, he's like, "What am I gonna do? Go force my way onto the ice?" But
yeah, maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah. I will say I think he should have been down there, but I disagree with the crowd of people being like he should have been up there on that red carpet when like Gary Bettman, Wayne Gretzky, and like Ovi and his family were there.
Yeah, he probably
you don't
probably
need
doesn't
to
need to
throw
be
him in
there for
but
that. Like,
down there with the boys, like
celebrating with the team
part of the
on
team.
the bench and stuff. Like,
he's still technically an active player. He's just, we know he's never going to play again. He's on LTIR, but he's still technically an active player with the organization. So
yeah, it's not like security would be
wouldn't
throwing
be the
him off the
craziest thing
bench
for him to be down there. Yeah, they did get together afterwards. So
number retired
went
by
down
the
to
Caps.
the locker room and got to congrats Ovi and give him a big hug, and they had a good chat and whatnot. So probably had a beer too. They had lots of beers flowing in the locker room after a loss. It's so bizarre that all the celebrating stuff. It's like, yeah, but you guys lost still though.
It's so funny because despite how good the Capitals have been this year, that's kind of been my view on the Capitals for the last 3 years now. Like, it's just such a meme of like picture of a guy screaming, super excited, and it's like Caps fans when they lose 6-1, but Ovi scored the one goal.
Yeah.
Like, and it's been really funny to watch. And like they know it. Like, no Caps fan is going to be like, yeah, but like they know that they've just been cheered for Ovi, and obviously
Oh yeah.
this year, insane resurgence by the whole team. But I do think that's always funny. And the other thing that I think was missing, very similar to Backstrom, this one, he was currently playing a game across the country, so he would have had to call in. Sidney Crosby, 20, 30-second clip, throw it up during any of the part of the celebration and have Crosby say, hey, congratulations, you're one of the best goal scorers of all time. Like that, it just would have been nice to see
Well,
to
there
see
was a
Crosby
Crosby
get that.
video.
Did they play one?
I don't know if they played at the game, but I know that there is a video from Crosby like congratulating Ovi. I saw it. I just saw it online. I don't know if they showed it during the
I,
ceremony, if it was played
I
in during a
feel like
commercial
they
break at some point in
didn't
the game. I don't.
on
I don't
TV
fully
because I was
know.
specifically waiting for that part.
I think
Yeah,
there's a
I
lot of
definitely
videos
imagine
that
he
weren't.
recorded one and either
Um,
sent it to him or it played off camera or something.
yeah, and maybe it was maybe it. Again, I don't know because there's a couple feeds covering this game, so um,
Mm, that's very
I
true.
don't know for sure, but people were like that were
They
at
were
the game were
blacking
like,
out this
"Oh,"
game, by the
they were
way.
like, "LeBron
Criminal.
James." Like, I guess they showed a LeBron James congratulating Ovi thing
Yeah,
at the game.
yeah,
But
I saw that one.
I didn't get that.
Or
I didn't see that, so I don't.
actually, you know what? I think I saw that one online too.
Yeah,
I saw
but
a
people
couple
at
of
the
them.
game
I
were
don't know
like,
if they
"Oh."
played any of them in the game
Yeah,
or
or at
on the
least
feed or in
not that
person.
we were able to see
Yeah.
because people at the game were like, "Oh, LeBron James." I was like,
Oh,
"Why is
okay.
LeBron there?" But then I was like, "Oh, it's just a video." Um,
Yeah.
yeah, they like to
But
pick and choose what they want to give us, I guess, watching at home.
like, what do you have to lose from showing Crosby and LeBron and all these goats be like, "Hey, man, you're freaking sick." Like,
Yeah,
dude, I feel so bad for the people who were getting blacked out that live an hour away from UBS Arena that are getting blacked out of this game. That not only want to watch their Islanders fight for their lives in a playoff spot, but also want to see Ovechkin score the goal. That's
yeah,
kind of like the new the goal, right?
yeah.
And and nope, nope, go buy cable. Come on, man.
One person I really feel bad for actually. I was chatting about it yesterday. Um we have a cousin who is a huge Washington Capitals fan and is currently on vacation over in Japan right now actually, and he has the Sportsnet package so you can watch all the games and stay up to date. Um so he got, I don't even know what time it was over there when this game was going on because this was like an early Sunday morning. It was like noon or 12:30 Eastern time. So whatever
Probably
time it was over in
early
Japan,
morning.
he got up and wanted to watch the game because he wanted to see Ovi score the goal, and Sportsnet wouldn't work
It
because
doesn't
he
work outside of Canada.
yeah, it doesn't work out. Yeah,
I
outside of
I learned that on my
his
trip
region.
to
So
Tampa.
he
It doesn't work outside Canada. So did he
unfortunately
get to
didn't
watch
have
it in the end?
no, he didn't have any way to
Damn,
watch it.
that
So
sucks.
he
I
had
was
to just
hoping he's
watch
fairly
the
tech
highlights
savvy. I
after
was
the
hoping he might get a VPN,
yeah, I just had to watch
but fuck if I
the
know how hard
highlights
that is to do in
afterwards
Japan.
and yeah, and get the notification that that Ovi did it. But all in all, incredible moment, greatest goal scorer of all time. Um,
Yeah, pretty
maybe we'll
tough
come
to
back to
argue
this
against it.
in I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years. Maybe someone will be on the chase to pass Ovi. We'll wait and see what happens
Yep.
with that there.
Matthews said he shouldn't even be in that conversation yet, which I feel like most hockey players would say. Not a lot of guys are going around, even guys like McDavid on insane paces. None of them are walking around saying, watch out for me in 6 years when I'm taking down all time records. Like, no, I think
Yeah.
a lot of them see it as a jinx. I think a lot of them think
Yeah.
if I say that shit, either I'm going to just play like ass for the rest of my career or I'm going to get injured and it's not going to be possible.
Well, and I've said it for years, and I'll always stand by it. Hockey players are the most humble, professional athletes in terms of stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah. I think
very,
just by just the culture of it. Yeah.
yeah.
100%.
It's
Also,
always,
probably some of the quietest on top
it's
of that.
always, we before me. It's always the team before anyone. If you get those personal accolades, like great players love it, but at the end of the day, it's always the team, and
Yeah.
any
Michael
player
Jordan,
would take,
as a hockey player, would be getting benched like crazy because he's not putting the team first.
yeah, like any hockey player would take one Stanley Cup over 20 individual awards.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one you grow up dreaming about lifting, right? Like, it's freaking sick to win the Art Ross. People aren't thinking about winning the Art Ross when they're a kid. They're thinking about raising the cup.
Yeah. There's a reason why when kids are playing street hockey, it's always you against your buddy and it's game 7. It's not, oh, we're both going for the all-time goals record. Next goal wins. It's like it's always game 7 overtime. It's always the big ones.
Game
But
7, we both have 894 goals. Next goal breaks the record and wins the cup.
now that's sick though. Kids should
That's how
start
you
doing
do
that
it.
actually.
You got to put
That's how you
stakes
up the
on it.
intensity. And no
But
penalties.
no penalties. But I think that's a pretty good coverage on OV's record-setting goal, not tying, but setting the record. Do you have any other thoughts on that before we move on?
Oh, I just had a massive cough come out of nowhere and scared me. No, that was I think that covers it all. I think we did right by it.
Yeah, I think
We
we
covered the
covered it
entire
pretty
thing.
good.
It was not a whole lot of showing on over the weekend. If you're thinking that we drug this on, first of all, we're never gonna get probably never on this podcast gonna get to talk about something like this again. Um, and
Gonna be a
secondly,
long ass time.
there's a dick all else happening in the league.
Yeah, and
Like,
honestly,
do we honest talk about how Chicago beat Pittsburgh? No one cares. No one cares about that. Oh, actually,
yeah,
I care about that. Actually, I care a lot about that, but I'm one of the few that actually really cares about that.
yeah. It's really just talking about tanking over there. Like, there's not near as much going on around the league anymore because the Sens have stayed hot. They are in the playoffs, man. They're locked in. The Canadians, 5 wins in a row.
They're in the playoffs.
They're not clinched, but like
They're gonna be
pretty
though, I imagine.
freaking close. Like 1 or 2 more wins and they'll clinch it. And
They
that's if the rest of the
put it
teams
into their
behind
own
them win
hands.
out, and that's not going to happen
Yeah.
either. Like there are 6 points up on the Red Wings and the Rangers with 5 games to play for each of those teams. 6 for the Red Wings. Like,
Yeah.
Canadians would have to collapse, and one of those 2 teams would have to like win all of their rest of their games. Maybe they could lose 1 in the Red Wings case. Like,
Yeah.
it is just not happening. At least there's a little bit more going on in the West, but it's still pretty locked up. It's a little bit closer, 91 points for the Wild and 87 for the Flames. So
I mean, it's that one's wide open because
it's
Calgary
wide
and
open, but
Minnesota they have
5
a
games
game
left.
against each other. But it's
That
because
that
Calgary and
decides
Minnesota
it
play each
for
other
sure.
on Friday. Like, there's a chance Calgary could be, and I guess the biggest thing is that Calgary has to have more points than Minnesota. It's not,
You
they're
can't tie.
4 points behind Minnesota. You need 5 points to get in front of them because Minnesota is going to hold the tiebreaker, the regulation wins. They have 5 more than Calgary right now.
Calgary has 5 games remaining. So
Yeah. Calgary has to win every game in regulation just to get to where Minnesota's at right now. And I'm assuming Minnesota's going to win at least one more game in regulation somewhere.
yeah,
So-
so tiebreaker will not cut it. They have a game in hand over the Wild as well, and a game against them, like you said, which will be massive. So we'll see if the Flames
Minnesota's
can
got
pull
a
it off.
pretty
But
easy schedule to wrap up the season. They have San Jose, then they play Calgary, then Vancouver, and then Anaheim for their 4 remaining games. So, I mean, got to imagine they're going to beat San Jose. But I mean, if Calgary can keep winning, the biggest thing is Calgary has to win that matchup against Minnesota. If they lose that one, it's
I'm pretty sure
that's
that
it
would
right there.
mathematically eliminate them once that happens.
It probably would because that game's on Friday. So I imagine
It would probably
by
eliminate a lot of
Friday it'll
teams.
be like Calgary has to win in regulation or
Yeah,
it's
they
over
can't
with.
win in OT either. That 1 point will be killer.
Yeah, yeah. That very well is probably going to be the case come that game on Friday. Is
Yeah.
Calgary
And
season will be on the line.
the Canucks and the Utah Hockey Club also are not mathematically eliminated yet, but we're talking about how hard it is for the Flames to get in. That's 87. Canucks have 83. Utah has 82. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure one more loss for either of those teams would eliminate them. Definitely for Utah. I'm pretty sure it would for Vancouver as well.
yeah.
So
I
we'll see
think
if the
so.
Flames can take this spot. And like I said off the top, we were talking about the Flames right before we went live, and we were having a little bit of a disagreement on where the Flames are as a franchise. But
Well, first before we get into that, it is worth noting the Flames have recalled defenseman
yeah,
Zane Perrick from the OHL. Don't know exactly when he's going to play. I assume at least by Friday's game against Minnesota. I imagine he will be playing in that game. I don't know if he's traveling to Anaheim to join the team, but Zane Perrick will be playing an NHL game at some point here. So
and that's
that's huge for
so
the
fun.
Flames to get him in the mix now.
Yeah, that's that's absolutely massive. 107-point defenseman in the OHL. Dude is freaking dirt nasty, man.
Only second defenseman to uh, do that, 100 points as a defenseman, and I believe he's the first to put a back-to-back 30-goal seasons.
I feel like I definitely saw that around. Yeah, he's the only the fifth defenseman to put up 100 points in the entire CHL in all of its history, which is like the CHL that includes the WHL, the OHL, and the QMJHL. So being only the fifth guy to do that, I don't have a list of the other guys who have done it, but something tells me it's a lot of pretty high prestige guys.
I know Ryan Ellis was one. That's all I know, though.
CHL. How easy do you think that is to Google? I'm pulling it up here. But the Flames, we were talking about before we started that they're in a weird spot, specifically with their kind of their draft pick. If they don't make these playoffs, um, I know you're definitely of the opinion that that's kind of worst case scenario. Hitting that for several
Oh,
years. Everyone,
I got the 4 defensemen if you want to know. You might like one of them, actually.
oh sure, let's hear it.
Michael Perrard, not sure who that is exactly, but he put up 100 points in the 1999-2000 season.
He's crazy.
Marc-Andre Bergeron had 101
Ooh,
points in the 2001 season, so back-to-back years. And then the following year, Danny Grew put up 112 points in the 2001-2002 season. And then
Danny
Ryan Ellis
Grew.
in 2010-2011.
Ryan Ellis. I not gonna lie, I thought there was gonna be a little more prestige on that list. Ryan Ellis, great player. Don't really recognize the other three, if I'm honest.
Marc-Andre Bergeron?
I very vaguely recognize that one, but like, did he play much in the NHL?
I know he played a shit ton with Tampa.
Oh, good for him. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't really recognize. I wasn't familiar with your game.
Okay, maybe not a shit ton, but he did play with Tampa at least.
Yeah,
Went
I definitely
undrafted. Wow.
had heard his name before and never heard the other names.
Imagine you're sitting there in the fucking queue dropping 101 points as a defenseman, 185 penalty minutes. And you're like,
Beast.
yeah, no one drafted me.
Damn,
That's nuts. That's wild.
was he
Anyways,
undersized or Russian? Like, what else could it be back then?
yeah, I mean 5'9", but still 200 pounds. But
Five
then again,
nine
that's also at the
back
time
in
of
2000. People did not like 5'9"
that's
back
also
then.
at the time of probably his retirement, so probably wasn't 200 pounds even. Oh,
Mm,
back then maybe it
fair.
wasn't even 5'9". But with the Flames.
Yes. So yeah, we were talking about how you're really not a fan of, them finishing in, if they do, where the standings are now, just outside the playoffs. And I was kind of on the other side of the fence of that, saying like, they have enough good pieces in place that I don't think, what team doesn't get better with a better draft pick, right? But they don't need that to take the next step next year. Um, I really think, it's
For those
instead of
who are confused by that, Calgary's first round pick is top 10 protected. If it's not a top 10 pick, that pick goes to Montreal. And then Calgary keeps
right.
Florida's pick.
If it is top 10 protected, what happens then? Next year they
Well,
get
then
their unprotected?
Montreal would just get Florida's pick this year.
Oh, they get Florida's pick. Right, right, right.
Yeah.
So obviously, for the building of the team, it would be better to have that a top 10 pick versus wherever Florida finishes, probably pretty good. Um, but I don't know. I feel like the Flames are one of those teams that they're not like, this would be bad for Chicago because they need more guys. Like, they got freaking nobody to surround Bedard. Like, they have so few guys there. The Flames, I feel like they have a lot of talent, and I feel like you'd rather finish right outside the playoffs and have Wolf putting up these great rookie numbers and, having some of these guys breaking out. You got your Hubertos kind of coming back into form and Klapka coming out of nowhere like an absolute animal. Like, I feel like you'd rather have that than each of these guys having 10 less points, Wolf putting up a 900 and finishing in the bottom 10.
I think Flames fans, the majority of Flames fans online, I think would disagree there. Strictly because when you look at the Flames, the roster that they have right now, you don't have the guys to win a cup. You have your franchise goalie in Dustin Wolf, which is great. You have your what should end up being, well, see how it translates to NHL, but you should have your franchise defenseman Zane Parekh.
Yeah.
You don't really have anything for forwards though. You don't have that future first line stud center. I think you've got a decent find in Matt Coronado, who I think can be an easy, shoe in for 30 goals a year in his prime, no doubt. But you don't really have you have Kadri, but again, Kadri is 30, 34 at the beginning of
33,
next
34.
season.
Yeah.
He's going to be turning 35. So how many years do you have left with him? Huberto is having a great bounce back year, but he's 31. You've got Uyghur who's been doing good, but again, Uyghur, okay, 31. So you can get some mileage out of Uyghur, I think, especially on the blue line, but you don't have those pieces up front that that you can build around to come up and, you know, learn from these veterans that they have, that they know that they're going to be taking those places. Like Connor Zary's good,
Right.
but is he going to be a 80+ point guy across his career as a first line center?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Who on this team is going to be
Great
the
second line
forward
center, I
challenging for a
think.
Conn Smythe if you win?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they really don't have it. And I'm just looking at some of their best prospects here, and everything you're saying lines up exactly the way you're saying it. Like, all their top prospects, pretty much all of them are defensemen. Like
Yeah.
Zane
They got a lot
Parekh,
of good defensemen.
defenseman. They got Matvey Gridin. He's a winger. That's fun. Samuel Honzik, he's a centerman, I believe. He could be good. But like Hunter Brustevich, is that how you
Yeah.
pronounce it? Yeah,
Yeah, that's
he's
actually pronounced it, yeah.
defenseman. Etienne Morin is a defenseman. Jeremy
Henry
Pourwar,
Muse.
defenseman. Henry Muse, defenseman. Yeah, like they got a lot of defensemen coming up, which is a good problem to have. But but what do you do when they're all there and you don't have the forwards up there? So
Yeah.
they do need to go out and get a couple more high profile forwards. They have the guy in net. They've got a pretty decent decor and a lot of young prospects coming up for it. And they've even got a lot of the depth pieces that I could see working on the forward core. They just need, like, I guess it's probably easy to say about a lot of teams, but they just need a couple top lines forwards, right?
Yeah.
But that's something that is hard to just come by. But if you find the right fit, you could also, like, sometimes it's really tough. Sometimes you just go out there, you shell the fuck out, and you give Mitch Marner the bag, and he comes over and turns the franchise around.
Yeah, but you still need that first line center. That's the
And
biggest thing.
I don't know who the UFAs are this year. Like, it doesn't have to be the Mitch Marner, but
There's there's not one. Not this year. This is actually a very weak free agent class, all things considered. But and with the Flames, like I'm not saying they're in the worst spot, they're doomed.
no.
But I think if you're going to fix this Flames team, and if you're on this thing now of like with Dustin Wolf, you're not getting top draft picks. You're not going through this rebuild like you can't with a guy like Dustin Wolf.
Yeah. The best way to win
He'll be
games
like,
is have a good goalie.
yeah.
Most important
And Flames
position.
fans aren't going to like this because I know they've got attachment to these players. But in the offseason, I think if you get a package, maybe you move Kadri. Flames fans are going to hate this one. And I'm a big fan of this guy with Calgary. You 100% move Rasmus Anderson if you get the right package for him.
That one's so tough because, like,
for multiple things, because first of all, he's having a very tough year, only 30 points in 77 games, and he's a minus 33. Comparing that to Mackenzie Weegar, who is a plus 14. Secondly,
oh my god, you
you
don't
can't
give
afford
up
to
Uyghur for
give-
anything less than like borderline generational. Like, you need a
Yeah.
franchise altering piece if you're going to move Uyghur.
And that's the thing.
He's
So
so
Mackenzie
good.
Weegar is already your top guy, your stud on the blue line. Him and Anderson are both right-handed guys. So are you now going to give Erasmus Anderson an 8x8 to keep him there when we talked about Zane Perrick, who's coming up, right-handed, Hunter Brustevich coming up, right-handed, Henry Muse, right-handed. You have so many guys that are projecting to be great defensemen who are all right-handed. And on top of that, you have Mackenzie Weegar there.
And you can sell him at a premium. Right-handed defenseman, you get more.
He is 28, so like he's right in his prime. It's tough to move guy, but again, Zane, are you going to pay him $8 million per year to be a third pair guy?
Uyghur is one of those very few defensemen that is right-handed, but he can genuinely play well on the left side, right?
He can, yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of guys that can make that transition without it being like, ooh, he's noticeably not in the good spot. He's one of the few guys that can. So I definitely think, as they have so many right-hand defensemen, which is a problem, the opposite of every other team's problem.
Yeah, like
definitely need to play him on the left.
Gold that everybody wants.
Yeah,
and
so Uyghur has to be played on the left.
Yeah, like I think you could get a great haul for Anderson, and maybe you get maybe it's a 1-for-1. Maybe you move him and you get a centerman, a straight up a top 6 centerman. Maybe
I think you can't move him for anything less than a blatant fleece. So, and I'm not, even if you go, that's a good return, even then, I don't think you can. I don't think that's worth it. Like, Rasmus Anderson has been really
something
good for
along
them.
the lines of like, when we saw, definitely not the Adam Larson for Taylor Hall, but something like at the time of the deal, like a Seth Jones for Ryan Johansson, 1-for-1. And what a comparable of that would be,
I still wouldn't.
Tough to say. Like, would you trade Rasmus Anderson 1-for-1 for Marco Rossi? I don't think Minnesota would, because you don't need a right-handed defenseman. Like, you've already got that. But something like that. Now you find a guy like that.
I don't know if I do 1-for-1, but you would definitely have my attention with that.
And that's what I'm saying, though, is like that's
100%.
probably something that it would be along the lines of, you find a team who's desperate for that.
Yeah. It has to be a proven guy. You can't trade a guy. The biggest thing for Rasmus Anderson, on top of him being good and still 28 young, he wants to be there. He's so crazy on record of wanting to be there. And Calgary, are they the team in the league that has had the most issue with that? Even Buffalo has guys who want to go there sometimes. The Jets historically have been the team that has it worst for that, but now they're good. So at least teams,
You
some
only
players want
really
to go
see
there
it
for that.
with. I
Like,
wouldn't say Calgary specifically. I think you see it with. I mean, yes, Calgary because of recent years, but the problem is Calgary tries to make American players their biggest, pillars. And that's just, it doesn't really work the best with Canadian teams for that. A lot of guys want to be back home or just
yeah,
playing in the US. And Calgary doesn't have the best weather, but players have shown that they can get past that. Um,
yeah, it's just one
but
of
I
those
mean, like
things where
you look
not a
at
lot of
like
guys want to that
yeah,
hard, and Anderson so badly seems to want to be a like flame lifer, and like that that's in short supply, and he's a great player.
but do
Like,
you give up on a young 18, 19-year-old prospect who's developing really well? Do you dump them off and then potentially they become a stud? And it's like, well, fuck, people love looking back at prospects who were traded and
yeah,
they're like, "Oh shit, well, we just gave them up for nothing. We just gave up on." It's like, well, you didn't have room for them. Where again, like I'm not saying you need to trade Anderson. I really like Anderson with the
yeah.
Flames, but when you look at what they have coming up and you look at how
I
Anderson
mean,
can
how
fill those
I was gonna say
needs that they
how
have.
highly touted are all these prospects? Like, are they really gonna be pushing Anderson out of the lineup? Zane Parekh, I could
Zane
100%
Prek,
see.
I think Hunter
Absolutely.
Brzustevich is projecting. I think he's going to be a top 4 defenseman. Henry Muse, I haven't watched enough of his game, but it's kind of looking like he's going to be an NHLer, whether
100%.
he climbs the ranks or he's a third pair guy. But right there, then you've got Prek, Bustevich, Muse, and then if you got Uyghur you can move Uyghur to the left side because he's comfortable playing there.
Yeah.
Like that's your right
Best
side, and
case
those are
scenario,
all
it's
young guys.
Uyghur Parekh on that top line for the next 7 years, which is how
Yeah,
long Uyghur's contract is.
yeah.
And yeah, after that, you got to figure it out. You got yeah, even if you move
Someone's
Anderson,
got to get moved
you've got
eventually.
two right-handed defensemen there. Someone's got to get moved. I just you know what you have in Anderson, and he wants to be there. And like those other guys, could you imagine if they traded Anderson and then they didn't pan out, or even if they're just not as
But
good as
that's why
Anderson
I'm saying
was?
though it's something like you get a proven guy.
Yeah.
If it's not a proven guy,
Oh no,
the
no,
bare minimum.
not the return. I meant if they move Rasmus Anderson and then
Well, outside of
Brusevich or Muse don't become that guy.
outside of Zane Prek, all you need is one of all those defensemen to pan out,
Yeah, to be a top four.
and then you're fine. And they've got, I think we named 4 guys, so one of the 4, I got to imagine will will
Yeah,
work. But again, that's just kind
yeah.
of the biggest thing is Calgary's just got that glaring hole of the future of their center position that
Marco
again, if
Rossi
you're
is a
committed,
great target for him
if you're
if
if you're
if he's
committed
willing.
to, you know, we were doing a quick retool on the fly. We shipped out all those guys last year, and we want to get right back in the mix. And you kind of have to with Wolf. You need that centerman. You've got Kadri who's great, but again, he's going to be 35 next year. How
Yeah,
much more can you get out of him, or do you move on from him and get something back while you can now? And you know, again, still kind of trying to keep competitive, but also staying committed to your process of this on the fly retool.
yeah, yeah. It's
'Cause
gonna
yeah,
be
like
tough.
no doubt they got good pieces in place, 100%. Um, but more so than anything, you got to stay committed to your plan of the retool, not just kind of 1 year and it's like, right, we're going for the cup. It's like you might need to take at least one more
Yeah,
year or this off season to keep chugging along with that plan.
yeah, yeah. I definitely think they need to continue to get a bit younger. They've got a lot of guys that are getting pretty old, and they're a lot of important pieces. Blake Coleman, 33, Kadri's 34, Backlund's 36. Like, you don't have to move on from all of them at once, but like, how many more great years does Backlund have left? Like, you
Mhm.
know, if you could get a decent return for him, Kadri, I think you capitalize while he's scoring a lot, and
He's gonna
he's
set a
got
career high in goals
five.
this year, probably.
Yeah,
I
he's got
think.
5 more years at 7 mil. Like, as the cap goes up, 7 mil becomes more and more tolerable, but still, 5 more years that takes him to 39. That's going to be right in their window, and he's going to be an anchor at that point.
And if you say that contract's unmovable, no contract's unmovable. Do what we've seen all these other teams do: retain 1.5 for the remainder of the contract, and then you see that package that you're getting even bigger. Like,
yeah.
Look at what Chicago was able to get for Seth Jones because they retained for the next, I don't know, 6 years or something. Look at what San Jose got because they retained on Hurdle for the next 6 years.
Yeah.
It makes the contract easier to stomach for, whatever team is
yeah.
is getting.
And maybe you don't even have to retain. Maybe if you would take a bad contract back, but that one's only, $2 million for 3 years or something.
Yeah.
As a non-specific, definitely not Connor Sheary example.
Oh, but yeah. He's in the AHL right now, isn't he?
Oh, he's been in the AHL.
Yeah.
I think he scored
I'm not
big game winner the other day.
The Flames are in a terrible spot or anything, but it's more so that they can't take this year and be like, all right, we're right in there. It's like you still got a little more work to do.
Yeah.
You've got some.
I do think they can take it and say they're in there in the sense that you can make the playoffs next year. Not in the sense that we're going in and we're looking to win the cup. No, the goal next year should be let's make the playoffs
winning.
And let's see what happens at the first round. But
exactly.
you can't be like, we're gonna go in there, we're taking down Makar and McKinnon, we're tossing the Avs out, we're gonna run through Dallas. Like, okay, come on, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, they should be hoping to make the playoffs, especially if Wolf can be this good again next year. He should be extended July 1st as soon as legal.
Yeah. Well, and Calgary's learned from their mistakes before, so I don't expect them to.
I hope they have
to handle this Wolf situation similar to the way that they have in the past. But let's keep chugging along with latest news around the league. St. Louis Blues.
One more thing I just want to throw out there really quickly. They have the first round pick of the New Jersey Devils and the first round pick of the Florida Panthers, and then as well as their own first, which more than likely will be going to the Montreal Canadiens.
I think basically the only way that it doesn't go to the Montreal Canadiens is if the Flames win the draft lottery. Actually, I think that literally is
that would be
only way.
So funny to see. That would be so funny.
And if they finish 16th and they win, like they'd move up to the 6th overall pick. And I think at that point, I think they have like a 1% chance or.
And that's pretty good. Not going to happen, but it'd be pretty awesome. With that Florida and Devils first rounder, how high do you think they can get packaging those together? Because they need one of those. They don't need several good players. They have that. They need those top end guys. I'm saying the Devils are going out first round. I'm sorry, Devils fans. You're injured, and that's why. So say the Devils is, let's go 18th overall. Panthers, they're pretty freaking good, but it's a strong division. Let's say they go out in the second round. Let's say theirs is 23rd overall, something like that. What do you think 18 and 23 overall can get you moving up?
So I'm going to use the new tool, which is the draft pick value. I don't know the name of the guy who came up with this system, but I think it is pretty effective. So we'll go, let's say, let's pick Buffalo, because why not? Buffalo projected right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So use Buffalo as a starting point. There's Buffalo. So the Flames 2 firsts, that being the New Jersey and Florida, have a combined value of 45.77 based on the projected spot.
Okay.
Buffalo's
45.77.
Wow, Buffalo 31.29. So could move up to 8th overall. Let's jump to Pittsburgh, projected to be 6 overall.
Does this take into account the draft class as well?
You know what? Very well could. Very well could.
Interesting.
So it's kind of looking like you could probably get up to that around 6, I think.
And you know what? Pittsburgh might be a perfect team. Like they they might be one of those teams that wants multiple guys in the first round rather than one higher up guy
Yeah. I think a big
because
thing
their
would,
shelves
especially
are
with
so bare.
these type of trades, like, is the value there? I think Flames could make it work. I think it'd be one of those things where if you're Pittsburgh, basically you would, if you got that offer, it'd be like, you know what? We think the offer is pretty good. It's enticing, but we're going to wait until it comes to our pick because we want to see who's there. Because I think
Yeah,
this is a draft where if you're high on a guy, very good chance they could fall, could get taken away earlier. It's very unpredictable. So
and Kyle Dubas, more than almost anybody, we know he latches onto a player and he's like, "That's my man." So
yeah,
it would, yeah, that
so
very well
there's
could be
possibilities there
something that happens.
for them if they want to do that for sure.
But we can move
St.
on
Louis
from them now.
Blues franchise record win streak at 12 wins in a row was snapped by the Winnipeg Jets in a 3-1 loss.
The Jets looked so dominant in that game, and yet, like they had one of those games where it was like, fuck, this team looks unbeatable. I don't want to play them in the playoffs in any round. That looks awful. The Blues found ways to get a lot of great chances regardless. Like late in the game when it was 2-1, the Blues got a power play and they were cycling it like the freaking all-star team. I was like, holy crap. They are shooting the puck, not passing. They're shooting the puck onto each other's stick so hard, and they're just corralling every pass. It was moving around so well. The Jets defended it perfectly, but both teams looked really good in this game. I would not want to face either of these teams. Like, my
Hold on,
God,
we might have some
couple of
breaking news here.
wagons. Yo, we might have breaking news. Let's go.
Is this the official?
Oh,
Wow.
oh, what has he got? Is it good or bad?
Rights remain. If he doesn't gain. Wow, that is
We got
huge for Montreal. It is sounding confirmed that Ivan Demidov is coming over right now.
whoa
Not even next year, right now. It
right
sounds like
now.
it sounds like so from what it
Holy
looks like as of
shit!
right now, is SK has granted Ivan Demidov release from the team to go over and join the Montreal Canadiens. They are working on an entry-level deal, but his KHL his rights remain with SKA, and he will return to the team if he's not a NHLer. So it's not like they're letting him. Oh, you can go over and join Montreal, but then they send you to the minors.
Yeah, he's not
If
going to
they
the
try to
what is it,
send you down to
Laval
the
Rockets?
minors, you
Yeah,
we're retain your rights and you're come. So just like that, it looks like Montreal might be adding Ivan Demidov for a fucking
we were
playoff run.
already talking about how hot that team is. Oh man, now they got an
That
X
is
factor.
huge.
Okay, tinfoil hat time.
Wow. I did not think that was that was a possibility for this season.
You were taking a little bit to like read it and really make sure, and I was like, what? Like, what could this
I
possibly
had to
be?
make
Like,
sure
surely it's
because
not. Surely
I
it's
got
not some
fooled
random
by
bum coming up or something. But that's
yeah.
big. That's
I got
huge.
fooled by so many April Fool's stuff, so I was like, I gotta make sure this isn't like a week goal. And I
Yeah.
was like, all right, this account's saying right now, but then yeah, it's all coming out. Wow.
Okay. So tinfoil hat time.
Sorry, St.
Uh,
Louis, but this is much bigger. Much bigger.
How important to this decision was a conversation that the KHL had with Ovechkin recently? Some, not at all. Do you think after
Um,
Ovi breaks the all-time goal record, do you think he had any contact with over there and said, "Hey, I got the goal record. My contract's up next summer." He's been very vocal about wanting to retire after at least a season in the KHL. He wants to go
yeah, he
back
wants to go
to, I
back and
believe his
play
team's
for his old
Moscow.
club. Yeah, he wants to go play
He's
for his old club.
he's opening up a museum over there. He's been very vocal about that as well with all his hockey stuff. Like, also, he's a freaking rock star in Russia, just in general. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if there was any amount of that, and he was like, "Oh, this isn't even going to count as a bargaining chip for them. Like, they're not going to care if they're getting me." And he's just like, "Send the kid over." Do you think that's like completely grasping at straws, or there's even a little bit something there? There's a
Um,
good chance probably not, right? But
I would
like,
say probably not in the sense of like talking about Demidov because like it wasn't one of those things where like the KHL was holding him hostage like we've seen with other players. Is kind of one of those things of basically like, you signed a deal with us. We just kind of want you to honor, you know, your commitment to us. But they've let new like look at Michkov. It looked like he was locked in there for 3 more years. We were waiting like Michkov was going to come over when he was 21,
hey,
but then
we
out of
weren't
nowhere
waiting. Everyone else was
they
waiting.
let him
I've been very
they
vocal
let him
about
go
these
and
guys are just going to bail on Russia and get over here. Malkin did
and
it, and
then
I was like, everyone's just going to bail.
it's a lot different nowadays though.
100%.
But the
But my
KHL
random guess was still right.
they let Michkov go and come over. So I don't think so. Maybe in the sense of like the KHL knowing that maybe Ovi's come back over or seeing like, you know, the way that the NHL kind of rolled, like literally, like you said, rolled out the red carpet for a Russian player like this and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think probably just came down to they saw that and they're like, you know what, we want to let these young kids go over and be the best in the world over there, just like Ovi. They
If
want to
Ovechkin puts up
follow in those
2,000
footsteps.
goals in the KHL, people don't care as much as they did the other night
Yeah,
on the island.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Russia, but even you up your own ass about everything, you still have to know, surely, that the NHL is bigger. And that's why guys like Ovechkin want to go there. But, there's guys like Ovechkin that also literally set the all-time goal record. They still want to come back and play for you after that. Not even just come over and coach when their career's done. He still wants to play over back in Russia. So like it what are you going to get out of Demidov or Michkov playing when they're 18, 19, 20?
Mhm.
A couple highlight reels. That's about it. Who cares? You know what you could get? You could send a guy over. He puts up 800 points in a career, and then he comes back over, and he's a freaking rock star, and he's awesome, and he's box office. Whether he's playing or if he's, I don't know, becomes an owner of a team or becomes a coach, like they can build up their brand over here just infinitely more.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
worth noting that
I do think it's a good
Alexander
call on both
Nikishin
sides for him.
also plays on the same KHL team there. So do we see him maybe make the jump over and join Carolina? That's something to keep an eye on potentially now. But that's a huge
Definitely
ad
could be.
for Montreal, especially at this point now. A lot of people are talking about, have signs were like, we've got the pieces for in place now. We're ready to come out of the rebuild, go out there and buy at the deadline. They didn't. Well, this is your basically your trade deadline acquisition now here. A young stud that you can slot into your lineup. And I mean, the way he looked over in the KHL, the numbers he's putting up, I think is going to be not an immediate stud, join him right away, obviously, but I think going to be a very effective player and can definitely help on the power play. I think he can definitely help generate offense, and you put him with the right line mates. Like that's
That's huge for him.
that's
Holy
huge
crap.
for Montreal now.
I mean,
And round one probably
let's
going up against Washington.
oh,
First
fuck.
playoff matchup, you got to go up against
You can't
the
tell me
man
Ovi
Ovi.
wasn't connected somehow.
Maybe might have been now. Maybe might have been now. Looking at it now, playing Washington, yeah, maybe.
Maybe
Maybe
a
he's like,
little bit.
I want to take this kid on in the playoffs while I have the chance.
Can you imagine game one fucking lays him out?
Hey,
I mean,
welcome. No
let's
better way to
talk.
be welcome to the show, honestly. Like you're a young Canadian kid, your first playoff game, you get steamrolled by Sidney Crosby. You're like, fuck yeah, that's there's no better way. There's no better gift
It's pretty
than
sick.
that.
Uh, where do you think he's playing? Like, I've got the lines right here for the Canadians. So obviously that top line is still Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky. After that, Kapanen, Newhook, Line, Anderson, Dvorak, Gallagher. Jeez, that's an unfun line to play against. And Pezzetta, Evans, Armia.
Do they have anyone
Surely
injured?
they're probably starting them in depth, but
I think he might just go right in that top six.
right now their injuries are Reinbacher, Kirby Doc, Emil Heineman, and David Savard.
So you're probably who's on the second line?
Kapanen, Newhook, Line.
So Kapanen probably is coming out of the lineup.
Which is crazy because I think you're right,
Maybe,
but also he's on the second line. Like, do you not
yeah,
move him
but you
down
look
and
at the
take
way
out
that
a bottom guy?
you look at the way that that team's built, right? Like that third line is to go out there and just hit and create
Yeah,
havoc.
they have
Kind of same
identities
with
on these lines.
that
These aren't the
fourth line.
leftovers.
Like
Like,
that
they're
fourth line,
great.
you've got that kind of grinder and Pizzetta, but then you've got the good defensive play of Evans and Armia. Like that's kind of
I could
their
maybe see it Evans
that's kind of
coming
the way
out
that
instead if
no,
Kapanen could
no,
play
no,
center
no. You take out Pizzetta, if anything.
for the playoffs.
Oh, all day. All
I don't know.
day.
I think Pizzetta's a mean son of a bitch, and you want him in the lineup for the playoffs.
But at that point, then Joel Armia, Christian Dvorak, like Jake Evans is what one,
Yeah.
two, three, four, five. He's 6 on the team in points.
Okay. Never mind. Never mind. I had no idea he was even close to that. I thought
Yeah,
as soon as you started counting, I was ready to be surprised how high it was, and I thought he was going to be 10th. Like, yeah,
he's got 34 points in 77 games. Alex Newhook, 25 and 77.
Whew.
Like Kapanen, 2 assists in 14 games.
Yeah. Line and Demidov could be filth.
Could be, but I don't know because Demidov's more of an offensive guy. I think he's decent defensively, but I think for his transition to NHL, you probably want to put him beside Suzuki. I think
I've been
if
thinking
you
it the
put him
entire
with
time. You
Laine,
want him next to Suzuki. Long game, that's what you want. For this playoff run, don't think they can break up that top line unless Demidov comes in and is lights out.
but I don't think you can put him with Patrick Laine.
But yeah, and if you
I
do,
think if
it would
anything,
have to be
maybe
Suzuki, Demidov, and Line. Like, you can't. Otherwise, they'd be a defensive black hole.
yeah. I think
So
at that point, if you don't want to put him in the top 6, maybe you just bump up Josh Anderson. You put Demidov with Gallagher and Dvorak, and hey,
that
you get
that might be
open.
the
We'll
call,
go
I
in there.
think.
We'll crash and bash and get the puck out to you, and you make magic happen.
Yeah. Honestly,
And then we'll
I
crash
I
them
think
up for
that's
rebounds or whatever.
probably
Like
better.
you've got options. At least it's there's not one glaring spot like he's got to go here. Like I think there's
This is a
different
better team than people are
spots you
giving them
can put
credit
him
for.
in.
They've got a good lineup.
They do.
That's
Yeah, I think I don't think you could go wrong with putting him on the first line with Suzuki and Caulfield. You put Savkovsky with Newhook and Line, I think is fine. If you want to put Demidov with Dvorak and a Gallagher or a Anderson and a Dvorak, like you've got options.
they've got a lot of
So
options. Yeah. I completely agree that end game, you definitely want him with Suzuki. I think he will increase Suzuki's offensive production. I think Suzuki will help keep the plus minus in check. It's just at the moment, you don't know what you're getting when he comes over. You know, it's probably going to be good, but how good? Is it going to be first line in the playoffs good? Because that's what this top line has been so far.
and Savkovsky's, eh,
Definitely been shakier than the other two, but
he's been good, but you'd kind of hope for your first line winger, 48 points in 78 or 48 points in 74 games is
yeah.
you
So
would hope
missed a
those
couple
numbers
games,
would be a
probably
bit
ends the year
higher.
around 50.
Yeah, basically same as last year. He has a big body, so definitely could be a force in the
Yeah.
playoffs. Like that's
It'll be
definitely
good
a
experience
possibility.
for him. Like, he's so big, it's easy to forget how young he is. And we all know he's young,
Mhm.
right? He just got drafted first overall pretty recently in
Yeah,
2022, but he's 21 years old. He turned 21 like a week ago. What's the date? We're recording this on April 8th. He turned 21 on March 30th. So, like, he's still growing. He's still getting much better, and he's a guy that's gonna have. I think he's gonna have a monster year next year. I think he's
yeah.
one of those
I think
guys
the
that
door's
by
wide.
the end of the year, people are going to be kicking themselves over their fantasy picks. They're going to be like, "Look at this! I took this idiot. I took this idiot, all before Slavkovsky."
Well, I took him what 7th round this year, 6th round. And that didn't live very long on my team. That was a tough one because again, I was going
I've
off.
had him for a couple of months. I
He
don't
had a
know if I still have him,
monster.
but
He had a monster back half of the season last year. Thought that was going to translate, and then very similar actually last year. Got off to a very rough start, but has started to put it together more as of late. So,
The
but either
Ovechkin
way,
strategy.
that is huge for yeah, it is Ovechkin. Yeah, actually, that is huge
That's massive.
for Montreal. We'll definitely keep a close eye on this one. Probably come back to later this week when everything's hopefully finalized and we know where Demidov might be slotting in the lineup. What else do we got here? I don't think we got too much more here before we
Yeah, we don't have a ton. Do you have any
end off this
anything
movie
extra at
tribute
the end
episode.
that I don't know about to
No,
account
I do
for?
not. I do
Okay.
not.
Not a ton to say on some of these. Another 10-minute misconduct was handed out the other day. This time to Alexei Lafreniere in the Lightning Rangers game. This was handed out by Chris Rooney, who was the ref who gave Connor Bedard his misconduct the other day, or a couple weeks ago. So it's the same guy, and I gotta tell you, I didn't like the Bedard one. I don't like this one either. Like
I think it's fine.
he skated past him, and man, I don't know what he said, but like fuck, he barely opened his mouth.
But that's the thing.
You're in
What
Madison
does he
Square Garden.
say?
It's loud as balls, and he whispers under his breath, and this ref's just throwing guys out there. Like, dude, you hear it mic'd up.
You have to
These
earn
guys
the.
say some relatively heinous shit. Like, I
But
think we might just have a
you
weak-skinned ref.
need no. It's you need to earn your place to say certain things to the ref and to have those conversations. This
Nope.
is a
That's a bad ref. That's a bad ref. You can't.
no.
The penalties are the same for everybody. The penalties are the same for everybody. You
No,
can't
but
be like
it's
this guy's a vet. He can say whatever you want.
no, it's not that. It's you need to earn the respect. It's the same thing as if you have a long history of being a diver in the league, the refs aren't going to call as many penalties on you because they're like, well, you have a history of diving. It's the same thing of with these young kids coming up, the refs aren't going to take disrespect from them. Whereas you're, a veteran like a Pat Maroon type guy, you get a little bit more runway because you've been around these refs for, you know, hundreds
15
of
odd
games.
years.
You've gotten to know them all so that you kind of get that. It's not like you can, if you're a veteran, you can say whatever you want to the ref. We still see veterans get these
There are some of
these
them that it's
misconduct.
close.
The refs,
There are some guys
these,
that fucking let the refs have it, and I'm like, I can't believe that's not a penalty.
but then at the same time, when you get the refs mic'd up, the refs give it right back to them and start screaming at them. But I don't love when they just give out these 10 minutes, but I think it is worth I think to me it's something that if you're a young guy, you gotta play a little bit more. You can't just be a young guy coming in the league and saying what the veterans kind of say. Like you hear, like you're Bedard, you hear Pat Maroon say something to the ref, you can't go out and say the exact same thing because you haven't earned your
doesn't feel
stripes.
fair to me.
I think it's fair.
That's not the refs are supposed to be unbiased, and we know that they aren't, of course, but that's a little too blatant for my liking. I don't know. You shouldn't have to
Nah.
earn the right to talk the way that several other guys in the league are currently talking, and you can see that. Like
But
that,
again, it's like you also said, we don't know what Lafreniere said.
that's true. We don't know what he said.
If
So
if you say fuck you to the ref probably says fuck you back. But if you're skating by and you say you're a pussy, yeah, they're probably gonna tee up and say go sit for 10 minutes. It's a big part of it is the context of what was said. We've seen a
yeah,
lot from these younger guys, and they tend to they can't control the stuff they say. Whereas these older guys, they know when what you say, what you can't say, when to speak up. It's kind of part of that learning process of
yeah.
um
If
with these
it
refs.
does
So,
boil down to him just being young enough and dumb enough to say something off the cuff that got him tossed for 10 minutes, like I would have no problem with that. That's what happens. But yeah,
well, yeah, so you can't say he's
the,
a soft ref when we don't know what was said.
no, but I was already hot on him for the Bedard one because I think that one was refs emotion taking over, and I
Which Bedard one though? Because you got
the
two.
the first of the two. The one where he came over and he talked to Bedard beforehand, and then Bedard was spitting while he was fucking 10 feet away, and he was like, "That was at me." Like you watch Bedard on the clip, it's like he's not aiming at anybody. Like
I don't know. I
guys are
give refs
guys are
the
a
benefit of the
fountain.
doubt
Guys
in
are a
stuff
fountain
like
on the
this.
on the bench. They're spitting constantly. It's
But
probably
Bedard
so
also
gross
was.
on the ice over
But
there.
again, it's just if you're a young kid, learn your place. You can't just say whatever you want to the ref. Like if you're
And see,
disrespecting the
you're
ref, they have
you're
every right to be like
you're
sit
correct
for
in how
10.
it is. I'm saying how it should be. Every guy should get the same leash. Unless you get
Nah.
yourself if you get yourself a bad reputation, I think you've earned that and you have to do work to bring it back. I don't think young guys should come in and have to build up to the point of getting good treatment. You shouldn't have to build up
Yeah,
to be treated
I disagree.
like the rule book. If you fuck up several times to the point where the refs are pissed at you, now maybe you are at fault, not just because you're new and you have to do some damage control. That one I get, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
Just
I'm I'm fine with the way
just
that
another
the
in a
refs
long
handle
list
it.
of things that makes hockey an old boys club that I'm not a fan of.
The refs are usually pretty good with it. And again, I think it's the context, but at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing comes down to is these veterans. They've been around these refs for years, and they know their tempers, and they know you know with all refs what you can say, what you can't say. And if you're a respected veteran ref, and you got a young 20-year-old coming up being like, fuck you, pussy.
But you don't get to look at
Probably gonna
yourself.
tee 'em up.
You're not a respected ref. No, they can none of them
All
should
refs
be
are
going.
respected at the end of the day, though,
Sure.
because without them,
But
we don't get the game we
you don't
love.
get the game.
So that's why
But
there's leagues that across Canada have folded, and minor hockey leagues, tournaments canceled, disbanded because no one wants to ref. Because no matter what ref school you go to, what you do on the ice, you're hated no matter what, and you receive criticism
you got to be
and
a rules lawyer, but you
harassment.
also got
Like
to be a bit of a bodyguard. It's
yeah, and
tough.
it's impossible for young kids to do it nowadays. That's why a lot of minor hockey leagues are done because kids just say, you know what, I'd rather go to fucking Safeway and bag groceries to earn my money as opposed to going out and dealing with the shit that refs have to, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, and that's
it's
unfair.
a tough
That
gig. I
what they deal
don't
with for sure.
envy I don't envy the shit refs go through
Yeah.
one bit. But
Yeah.
still got to hold them
But I just
accountable when the circumstances are there though.
yeah, I don't like the idea of, a ref. I'm not going to name names, but like a ref going out there and say he's a ref that's, he's done like 2000 games. Like he's the
Mhm.
old ref that's been around for decades.
Yeah,
Like
the big dog.
he shouldn't go out there thinking, I'm I'm head honcho of the ref committee and like no I don't take shit from nobody. Like if you're a ref who doesn't want to take shit from everybody, I guess that's fine, but like not just because you're the vet, right? Like it shouldn't be like it's not like the hockey team. It's not where you come up and be like, you can say that shit to the linesman, but you don't talk to me like that. Like it should be like, don't fucking talk to my linesman either. Like,
Well, and I
and
think that
I do miss
part
those
I don't we don't know
refs who
for
would
sure with them, but
explain. I miss those refs who used to, because it doesn't happen as much anymore. It definitely still does sometimes. I miss when refs every single game would go to both sides and be like, hey, reffing is not consistent. It's impossible to be because we're humans and there's several of us reffing every game. But this is how we're
Mhm.
going to call this game. I loved when that was more commonplace. Like going up and
Yeah.
being like, hey, you guys, this is the Battle of Alberta. We're not going to call what might be boarding in some regular games. We're still going to call
Mhm.
egregious shit, but like this is going to be a rougher one. And like I
Yeah.
loved refs laying that out there. That's one of those things that was always super good that
Mhm.
I think it needs to come back a little bit more. It definitely still happens often, but not as much as it did.
Mhm. Well, there's actually some and no, I did not watch this in its entirety. I watched some of it Did not watch the whole thing. I did not have the time to. In the QMJHL, there was I don't have the name of the teams off the top of my head, but there was a playoff game the other night. Went 5 overtimes before the game ended. Not a single penalty called beyond regulation. Once it hit
Wow.
overtime, refs put the whistle away. There's actually 3 goals scored that were called back.
Oh my
Funny enough
God.
in that.
That's
But
exhausting.
refs put the whistles away. They said, "You know what? This is a playoff game. It's an overtime. We don't wanna affect the outcome." And then so you've got the people on the one side, they're like, "Yeah, you know what? We don't want refs to dictate the outcome." But then people are like, "Well, you can't not call penalty." It's like, so again, it's hard to find that line. And I'm sure probably at some point they had conversations with the coaches. I mean, 5 overtimes, like, and probably
Yeah.
said, like, "You know what? We're just keeping away unless your guys do something just absolutely egregious or nasty. We don't want to call it because we don't want to dictate a playoff game, right?"
Do you think that's something the refs would have told them or specifically not told them? Because
I
surely if
think
you,
probably told him it at some point, like, because I
yeah.
imagine there was probably, a high stick or a trip didn't get called, and the coach is on the ref just says, "Hey, you know what?
Mm,
You guys got
yeah.
away with this. We didn't call it. We're not calling this now. Like, we're letting the boys just play hard. As long as you guys aren't running each other from behind or headshotting or running the goalie, we don't
Yeah.
want to call a penalty. We're letting shit go on both sides. Take it or not. That's what we're doing out here." And I'm okay with that. As long as you're not letting guys run each other
Yeah.
head first in the boards and being like, "Oh, we're not calling that." Well, you have to call that.
Yeah. And
But
I think you are right
little
about
trips and
something
slashes,
happens
let
and
them
they
go.
go over and explain it. Because if you just kind of go over after, say, the first overtime and you're like, we don't want to call penalties, we don't want to dictate the outcome. Like if you just go over and volunteer that, there's a good chance, the next guy that gets a breakaway, there are sticks holding his hands like crazy. You're
Yeah,
getting up on his hands. You're pulling on
exactly.
jerseys. Like probably not dangerous stuff, but a lot of those things that can give you that little edge. And if they're not calling the
Yeah.
little things, you can do a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly. I imagine it's one of those things where, yeah, coach is probably getting mad and the ref's like, "Hey, look what your guy did 2 minutes ago, and we didn't call that."
Yeah.
Like,
God, that must have
just
been exhausting after the third goal got called back.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Like at that point, it must have felt like the
Yeah,
game would never end.
yeah. The home team won, and most of the crowd was already gone home.
Yeah.
But the
8
people that
periods of
stayed there
hockey? That's almost 3
were
hockey
selling
games.
hard.
They were
What
probably
was the one
blitzed.
what was that one game? There was, like, an overtime game or something, like, I think it was, like, last year, 2 years ago, that went 5 overtimes, and they stopped beer sales after the first overtime or something, I think.
In the NHL?
I don't think it was I don't think it was NHL. I can't remember.
I do remember the one that went really long and they stopped beer sales.
Yeah,
And
and people are like, "Well, fuck, how am I supposed
I
to get
don't
through
think it was the
4 more
Florida
overtimes?"
Hurricanes game. That one went 3 overtimes. I think it ended at near the end of 3. Um,
Yeah, I can't remember. I remember there was one game, but
I
I
do
can't.
remember people being upset about it though, because they stopped selling food in in the end of the second period when they normally do a lot of the times. But, now there's all these people staying, and I think that's might be why they stopped selling beer is because, now there's some people
Yeah,
who have been
maybe.
there for 5 hours, and even if they did buy food before, it's just been that long, and they just like
Yeah.
at a certain point, it's like, I get it, the game could end at any moment, but, like, the second it hits the first intermission of overtime or the second, like now people are going to be here for at minimum, even if they score 5 seconds in, they're going to be here for another 20 minutes if we're doing full intermissions. Fire up the grill.
Yeah.
Like let's
Yeah.
let's
Just
let's get some
get
food
chipped back
back into these
home.
people. Oh
Yeah.
no, people are going to be buying $10 hamburgers again. That's probably
Yeah.
generous. It's probably closer to 20.
But nowadays, oh, yeah. Um, what else do we have?
Not a whole lot. We also don't have a ton of time left, but Sam Bennett expected to miss the rest of the regular season with an upper body injury. Um, he is expected to be back for game 1. I do not believe he's on LTIR. I don't think. I don't think the Panthers would be
No.
over the cap either way. Like, I don't think, this is too short term of an injury to be like, oh, they're holding him out for game one.
Yeah, no, you could put him on IR, just not LTIR.
Yeah. But yeah, sounds like he's probably going to be out for the rest of the season and then back for game one of the playoffs. Yeah, this Florida team they've got a nasty lineup, but they are banged up.
They are banged up. Same. I mean, look at Edmonton too. That's the price you pay for
The two teams that
going
went
to
to
the
the
cup
finals,
final the
yeah.
previous year and going to war with each other. You're way shorter off season. Like you get basically 2 months off, and then you're right back in it. And especially with some of these guys playing in the Four Nations, not
I was
getting
going to
that
say
extra
these two
break.
teams had a lot of guys in the Four Nations as well. Like these two teams have really worn themselves out.
Yeah, they're banged up. Got a lot of guys sitting out, getting healthy for playoffs though. So two teams that a lot of people think could get a cup final rematch this year. But I mean, if your top dogs aren't healthy, it's tough.
Yeah,
It's tough to go
I
through
mean,
3
especially
series
for
to
Edmonton because
yeah.
they, as we know, that team lives and dies with their top two guys in Draisaitl and McDavid. They've got 2 Hart winners, like is as brutal. But I do believe that they have said in Edmonton that Draisaitl will be back before the end of the regular season.
Yeah. And I think McDavid
So
should be too. They originally said that, and then
unless
they
he
said
really
only gonna
wants
miss
to play, I
about
don't
3
think you
games, but
have him play. Like you just don't need to.
yeah, and I think especially at this point, home ice advantage over LA probably out of reach at this point now after their loss last night.
Yeah.
5 games left, you're 4 points back. And again, LA's got the
What's more
tiebreaker
important, home ice
locked in.
advantage over them or McDavid?
I think
At
more so
80%
maybe
compared to 70. Even
I
that
think maybe more so
is worth
getting
it.
home ice advantage away from LA with how good they've been on at home this year.
Yeah, but if they get home ice over LA, even if they beat LA, wouldn't they be like the away team in basically the rest of the matchups?
Um,
Like in the second, third, and fourth round?
I mean, yeah, either way, probably most likely, unless
Unless it's wild card teams.
whoever plays Vegas, probably St. Louis, unless St. Louis pulls off an upset, which very possible, very possible.
Hard to call it too much of an upset when they're doing this
Yeah,
good.
you know
But
what? Wait,
yeah,
you're going right now.
Vegas 8-2-0, not that much worse than a 9-1-0 for the Blues.
Wow,
Crazy.
I didn't realize Vegas 8-2. They got some injuries too. Good for them.
Who do they have out? I'm just assuming Mark Stone at this point, but I don't actually really know many of them that are injured in
No,
Vegas.
Mark Stone's played the whole year. Actually, he's been. Hurdle is out. Oh, just Hurdle now. Looks like everybody else is back and good to go.
Right. Hurdle was out. Oof. Hopefully he can make it back for the playoff run. Not that I want Vegas to do well, but you don't want to see guys miss time.
I think he should be back. He should be back in time, I think. But I think we've only got one last thing to wrap up this episode, and this goes back to last week. You wanted to represent your case.
Yeah.
Basically.
So we don't have a ton of time, so we won't go insanely in depth into this as we did the first time. But the Jalen Chatfield and was it Connor McMichael fight?
Yeah.
In regards to that, it was probably 4 days after it happened. It was a good bit after. I finally saw a different angle that surely must have been the one most people were seeing. I saw a couple different angles, and I never saw this one. But it is more zoomed out, and it much more clearly shows Chatfield getting his leg behind the leg of McMichael. And I kind of thought before it was they spun around and he kind of just used his arms and just the momentum and kind of threw him to the ground. But yeah, they were spinning and he got the leg behind him and kind of did the trip maneuver. It's almost a bit of a slew foot, and that's one of the probably the main thing that sends him down. So I did not see that he did that with. I think I even said in the episode that it doesn't look like he got his leg back there, but upon further review, we've determined that is a lie. He definitely tripped him on the way down, and that makes it a lot more dirty. That makes it, you know, much less of a aggressive throwing around hockey fight thing and more of a you took him down like a bit of a dirtbag. So um, definitely not looking. I wasn't looking on it fondly to begin with, but definitely not liking the look of it any more than I did. And another thing that I wanted to bring up that I might have even briefly mentioned to you before is that this got so much press because McMichael's helmet was off. And obviously it would have got even more if his head, never wish to see it, but if his head did hit the ice. Um, but how come the fight kept going then? How did it get to this point? Because there's a
Well,
whole
because
rule that they
you
stop
can't
the
take
fight
it
when the
off.
helmets are off.
No, you can't take your helmet off. But if your helmet gets punched up by the other player, you're still good to go. It's very weird like that. It's like basically, hey, if you want to punch each other's helmets off, totally fine, but you can't take it off yourself. It's really weird. It's a really
Do
weird rule.
do you think let's give it a timeline. What is it? 2025? Give it 2055, 30 years. Do you think there's still fighting in the NHL?
Yeah. And the
Like
reason I say is I know a lot of people say, "Oh, you have to take fighting out injuries." In my opinion, and I could very well be wrong. I've been wrong numerous times before. I think
we
you
love
run the
doing that.
risk of more I think you run the risk of more injuries by removing fighting. Because when you're out there and, the game gets physical, gets heated, emotions run high, if you can't just sit there and be like, "Let's just drop the gloves and throw punches," it's now do you just get frustrated and you just whack your stick and hit someone? Like, do you take your frustration out by you see them and you hit them from behind, or you get a cheap shot with like an elbow to the head? It's a good way for players to let out frustration. You settle scores, and I feel like you potentially just run the risk of more chaos and dumb plays happening if you remove that ability for fighting. That being said, I
I can
think there
see
will
the
be
argument.
less fights come 2035 because I think a lot of these older school, tough guys aren't going to be in the league as much. There's not going to be as
Not
much
many
room for them
Rempe's. Yeah.
unless you are a guy, like a Tom Wilson type guy
A Jerome
who
McGinley.
is like good enough to still put up, points to stay in the league, and you've got good enough skating. Like you look at a guy like Rempe with his skating, in 3 to 4 years, honestly, I don't think he's in the league because your skating has to be good enough that you can at least still be engaged and effective when you're not fighting, when you're on the ice.
Yeah, you got to be one of those players
So,
that could be a good hockey player, and you can go fight. And
yeah. So I think fighting will be down, but again, I think you have to keep it in because and again, very well could be wrong, but I think you run the risk of more dumb shenanigans if you remove that.
yeah,
Um,
and I think
like,
in a
look
perfect
at what Ryan
world,
Hartman did to Tim Stutzel. Driving his
yeah,
head down. You do that, and then you're standing there like, "You can't fight me, it's against the rules." Like, they're gonna find some way to get revenge on you. You can't just fight and
it
settle the
would
scores, so
it would
there's gonna
require
be
an
something that would
overhaul of the
happen
rules.
afterwards.
The reffing would
Yeah.
have to be incredibly more consistent on top of everything that's suspendable. Like right now, the time you're suspended for would have to be like tripled, quadrupled in most cases. Like it would
Mhm.
if people can't go fight you now, it would mean like if you do something people want to fight you about, if you would have got suspended before, you're going to fucking feel the hurt now. Like
Yeah.
it would require that. And I just asked because, we're so used to it, right? Like we're so used to it as hockey fan. It's just a part of the game, but like you think about it, it is fucking ridiculous. It is
It
so
is crazy when you
goddamn
just
goofy
think about
insane.
it, yeah.
Could you imagine line brawls? They just happen and we love them in hockey, right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
You
that shit
start a
on a
bar
football
fight,
field?
it's
What the
or I
fuck?
was gonna say,
That sounds
you start a
insane.
bar fight, you're spending the night in jail,
Yeah.
but you do it in a hockey game. You look at guys in,
You put knives
your
on your feet and you stand on a slippery substance and all of a sudden it's better.
yeah.
Like
Like, you watch guys there's clips of guys in beer league that throw haymakers and mangle each other, and that's fine because it's you're on the ice. It's hockey. It is goofy when you think about it from that perspective, though. Yeah,
Yeah,
like it's like
it's so wild.
I will
And
say, if you got rid of fighting, basically what you would have to do is you would have to remove linesmen from the game, and you'd have to have them just sit up top and you know call icings in offsides from up high. You have to just have 4 refs on the ice. You just have to have 4 actual refs who are basically just calling penalties, looking for the cheap and dirty stuff if you removed fighting. Because I just think there would be a lot more of that because
yeah,
that's the
and I
only
think
way
they
you can
probably
get
could remove
revenge on a
linesmen
guy,
anyway. Keep
probably.
the linesman, have the dedicated guy, but just looking at a camera, and
Yeah.
you can have them in the building, you can have them in Toronto, whatever, and they just sit there and watch that, and they can, as soon as it happens, they can immediately rewind and go see, double check. Like, we don't even have to do a review. I can already tell you on the ice this was offside or it wasn't.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking about it the other day, back to this Chatfield fight that, you know, the helmet, he punches another man in the face. Like, we're arguing he can't throw him down like that because his head might hit the ice. It would be better if he was still up and they continued having a punch in the face contest, which
Yeah.
obviously is slightly less dangerous, but like just a ridiculous sentiment overall. Um,
Yeah.
but I also was thinking back to the goalie fight that got broke up, and they go to the center ice and they both want the smoke so bad, and they take their helmets off and all the refs jump in as if the president's about to be shot. They're like, no, don't fight,
Yeah.
don't fight.
It's
Meanwhile,
so
this
weird,
can
yeah, how you can
happen because the guy
punch the
got,
helmets off,
yeah,
but
this guy got
you can't
bludgeoned in the
willingly
face
take
till
it
his
off.
equipment fell off, and that means it's okay for it to continue. But these guys
Yeah.
both took their helmets off and wanted the smoke, and we can't have that.
It's very similar, and I'll make this
Annoying.
quick because we're pressed for time, but it's the same thing as how, it's goofy that Ryan Reeves, one of the few guys left in the league who doesn't wear a visor and doesn't have to because he
Yeah,
was playing before that rule was put in effect. But in the AHL, it's mandatory to wear a visor. Ryan Reeves gets sent down to the AHL. What does he do? He does the Leo Komarov and has it tilted up so high that it goes above his helmet, basically. So he still has a visor on his helmet, but it's not covering his face in any way. So it's like at that point, just it's so dumb, like stuff like that. How it's like, yo,
make
you
a
need to
rule.
tell you have to wear a visor, but it doesn't have to serve any
Yeah,
purpose for
make
protection. It's like,
they really should make a rule
okay,
that it has to cover a certain amount of your face, and you can get
yeah,
some guy who's better with numbers or knows the equipment better than I could to tell you how it should go. They have rules on the exact length and angle a stick blade can be. Like,
yeah,
we've seen penalties doled out for illegal curved sticks. You could
yeah,
just do a very similar thing with visors, and it could be much more obvious. Just, if it's off by 2 degrees, the refs aren't going to call it, but you put it up like you're a freaking fighter pilot. And you put it up on your forehead,
hmm
they'll call you a penalty.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's shit like that. Yeah, it's so bizarre, but we do know that there's no um big shadow casting over the Washington Carolina game of will Ovi break the record. We know he has. All eyes are probably on now what the fallout is of this
hundred
um,
percent.
this move by Chatfield, what the response can be from Washington,
These teams
all
are
that.
very,
So that's gonna,
very not likely to move in the seeding either. So like it really is all about that. Like
yeah,
the Hurricanes are the closest to catching the Caps in
and
the
they're still a
Metro,
ways
and
off.
even if they win this game against them, one of those big 4 point swings, it's yeah, they're still 11 points back with 6 games. So if the Caps win one or two more games at any point, they clinch top.
Yeah,
So it
yep.
really
The
is
contention
just
trophy race is
about
up for
retribution.
grabs. Yeah, it's basically what it comes down to. I'm excited to see how it goes. I do fully expect there to be at least one fight in this game, if not, honestly, probably more.
Probably
Um,
a couple. That was an and like, you know, people are all like, because of that fight, they're gonna be pissed off. Like that that wasn't just a random fight where that happened in a single game. There was so many penalties and so many fights before that going on.
yeah,
Like, these teams hated
it
each
was a
other.
part of a big thing going on between
Yeah.
them.
Even if that didn't happen, I would still expect this to be a bloodbath. But now
Yeah,
it's gonna be fucking crazy.
Now it's gonna go nuts.
Yeah.
But that will wrap up everything for this episode. Large part of it covering the historic goal by Alex Ovechkin, and rightfully so. If you want to join in on the hockey talk, feel free to do so. You know where all the socials are, down the links across all episodes, across all platforms. Come over, come talk. Let us know your thoughts about anything we may have discussed across this episode. Braden, as always, final thoughts.
Oh, let me take a very quick check here for today's games. I can't imagine today. Probably not against the Red Wings tonight, but the next day, there's no back to back. The day after that, when do they play? They don't play again. Okay, I'm trying to find the next game for the Montreal Canadiens. Okay, so after today, which he's probably not over here and ready yet, April 11th, the Ottawa Senators and the Montreal Canadiens. There's a very good chance that that will be the NHL debut of one Ivan Demidov. That's going to be a real fun game
Yeah,
to watch.
that'll be a very fun game to watch. That'll be a must watch if he's making his debut in that one for sure. Could
Yeah.
be the same night that Zane Prek maybe suits up for Calgary for his first game. So
Yeah.
we're
Maybe
getting
Brady
we're getting a
Kachuk
lot of
comes
these
back
young
for that
guys
game.
coming in. Yeah, we're getting a lot of the young guys coming up into the league. So that's always good to see. Always excited to see how they translate and the mark that they can make
Hopefully
on
live
this
up to the
league.
hype.
Yeah, but that is it for this episode. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, we will see you guys out on the ice on Friday later this week.